Come on in, y'all. Come on in. This right here is the Remix Morning Show and Black Power Media. In case you didn't know, I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Let me introduce you to your host today. You got no other than Dr. Jared Come out. And burn it down, Kim
What's up, good people?
I was down with that today.
I intentionally put more reverb on your name.
I appreciate that. The next thing you got to do, you always got to say my name last, because I'm like the anchor.
You need to relax.
Oh.
This is not perfect.
Don't put respect on my name. Put reverb on my name.
Put reverb on my junk. Good morning, black people. How y'all doing?
Good.
I am not good. I am not good. And I
you sit in the dark and shit too. Yeah.
I'm in the dark. I'm in the dark, and that's it's a metaphor for the darkness that has surrounded our family ball household bake-off last night, in which there is a massive conspiracy, and I cannot get into it fully today, but I promise you, stay tuned to the remix to Black Power Media, because the scandal that is this will be revealed in time. This is scandalous, as I show you quickly. My vegan apple muffins that did not win the Ball Family Bake Off blind taste test last night. Somehow this carrot cake won.
Carrot cake
with a heart.
That was pretty.
With a heart.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nah, but the conspiracy around the vegan apple muffins will have to be.
I'm sorry, Jared. Them joints they didn't look appetizing. I'm sorry. Maybe it was the filter.
Was it a visual? Like, you lost a lot of points.
Do the people see the extent of the conspiracy as it spreads even throughout my comrades?
Show it one more time. Just show it one more time.
I will show it again. I will happily show it again.
The presentation on the other ones, though.
Ixnay on the O'Shea.
Look at the topping, the oat toppings.
Yes.
The diced apples.
It looks crunchy. Yes.
you got a nice amount of it in the pot. There's
a lot of texture. A lot of texture.
Why are they different heights and shit? Fluffy and.
Hey, Jared, all muffins matter.
Jared, who was victorious? Can you at least share with us who was the winner in the Ball Family Cook-Off, Bake-Off?
So my wife won. Of course. The carrot cake, the heart-based carrot cake.
Yes. Well done.
It's shaped like a heart, B.
And my oldest daughter came in second.
Okay.
And I didn't show it. We had an incident. My youngest had a little baking incident, and didn't barely kind of cross the finish line. So we just leave that one out. Baby girl doesn't need any more to suffer from that, because the household is already harsh enough. This is not. I'm trying to tell you, this is not a what do they call it? Graceful winning household. This is
out of four entrants, out of four contestants, did you even place?
I came in third. I came in third.
How many people in the house? Four?
There were four contestants with our fifth blind taste tester.
Roberto?
And no, it's our cousin, our uncle cousin, who is actually a professional soccer player who got trapped here during COVID. That's messed up.
Y'all T.O. Primo?
T.O. Primo, that's it. That's messed up.
Hey, hey, Jared, I seen some bad muffins. Last night I went to this spot called the Claremont Lounge. Mm-hmm. It's a club here in a little strip club here. And my homeboy had a birthday party, and all the strippers.
You talking about the muffin tops?
Yeah, they had to be at least 45 years. You couldn't get on stage if you was younger than 45.
Shut up, your doctor. Stop while you ahead.
That's perfect for you. That's perfect for you. That's where you should.
Oh my goodness,
that's your lane.
Listen, one lady looked like a semicolon. It was crazy. Listen, I'll talk to y'all later. I'll catch you on the break.
Oh, that's messed up.
Air Doctor is so problematic yet so hilarious.
That's messed
how
up.
can I not laugh? The shit
And
Air Doctor says.
shame on the chat. Shame on the chat.
What the chat
and
say?
the conspiracy, they're just falling victim to the propaganda of the conspiracy
Gerard,
of the ball off.
I think you need a better camera, higher camera resolution when you take the pictures, Chief. The pictures might be messing you up here, Jared.
That's part of the conspiracy.
Okay, got
I didn't take the pictures. See? Remember when you look at the Lee Harvey Oswald picture and the shadows don't match? I'm trying to tell you.
It's all about the angles.
It's the angles.
That lighting. Yes.
The magic bullet. I'm trying to tell you, this is a magic bullet theory. It is too. And
there was a second muffin maker or something like that. You know what I'm saying? He destroyed your shit.
Listen though, real quick, because I know we have a lot of stories today, and unfortunately, I gotta go. Not unfortunately, I love teaching my classes, but I have to be in class at 9:00. So, but folks, I am going to do a post remix show, 10 a.m. special live about my reality HBCU IG Twitter thread. So come back to that after the remix and have some fun with us this morning as we talk about anyway. But on a little bit of a serious note, real quick, I just wanted to ask you all about this, and maybe we can at some point come back to it. But in response to the Brooklyn shooter, I saw this from Lee Fang on The Intercept, and he's often touted as a quality journalist. But this I beg to differ on this one. He says here that the Brooklyn shooter suspect has a long history of Black identity extremism, like lots of mass shooters. But many leftists simultaneously argue that this ideology doesn't exist and FBI should ignore it. And it does. And if it does exist, police are powerless to stop it. Kind of a contradiction. So I just let him know that this is a powerfully absurd take and encouraged him, as I would any of you, to go back to our great interview with Dhoruba bin Wahad of a couple of years ago when this Black identity extremist thing first popped off. And get a little context for where this is coming from, because this Brooklyn shooter thing, Frank James, has nothing to do with the context out of which the FBI developed this BIE nonsense. And this was so. Anyway, that was a
very problematic tweet, because many mass shooters, many leftists. It's like, can we specify like which mass shooters? And I know he did list some mass shooters. None of those that I recall being so-called Black identity extremists, even though that sounds like a totally made-up term by the FBI. But there's a lot of misinformation already being put out here about this guy. Shout out to one of my viewers, Rich Elvios, Rich the God. Rich went through and grabbed a lot of Frank James's YouTube stuff before it got snatched down. And this gentleman is not pro-Black at all. He did not seem to really care for Black people. So I don't think that this was any sort of Black nationalist terrorist incident at all. But yes, but
and by the way,
already being floated is troublesome.
The BIE thing from the FBI in their own documents, as we went through in that video with Dhoruba, say their concern is Black extremists who are supposed to be threatening to target the police. So this idea that anybody that shoots up anybody is connected to that's not what they were talking about in the original development of that concept and their deployment of it. But anyway, so that was just, sometimes, these forays into Blackness that are taken by folks with little expertise or interest really result in these kinds of problems. So
and he's come off as a problematic journalist for years in terms of his speculative ideas on U.S. imperialism, on ideas like this or thoughts like this. So and why? I mean, he's at The Intercept, which is supposed to have some political sort of ideas around how the world operates, what's the role of propaganda in the real world. And apparently he missed a memo. So I'm not quite sure what his, he's got a lot of followers and so forth, but it certainly doesn't mean he knows what he's talking about.
And Glenn Greenwald retweeted it with some positive commentary about how people are reluctant to explore the difficulties of what they're really saying is you all don't want to look at Black people and people of color, so-called, when they act up. That was sort of the tenor of
Glenn Greenwald. I used to like the dude. Back in the Snowden days, it was like, yo, he was on it. He had a good analysis. At some point, he's decided that he's going to work with or be a part of, he's going to bring the Trumpers over to some sort of realistic politic, or he's going to work with them.
That's right.
To help forward some
new populism.
Yeah, he's just taken some ridiculous stances since that time period, and it's just I don't know what happened to him.
I have to say this is a little bit of an age thing, I admit it, but I remember not too long ago seeing Glenn talk about how he had only become radicalized after Obama failed him. Like that was the turning point. So I had to be reminded, like a lot of these cats are new to this level or this realm of political struggle. So on the one hand, I want to give room for all of us to evolve, but at the same time, it's like sometimes you got to recognize when you're out of your lane. And he's so I hope they watch that Daruba. And shout out to Daruba. He actually called this morning because he wants us to check Jay-Z and them for coming out and saying that they shouldn't be prosecuted, that rap lyrics should not lead to the prosecution. Or be used against rappers and artists.
I agree with that. Should they be? Is Daruba arguing that they should be?
It's yes. Well, no. So that part we didn't get to. So but what he's saying, what I think he was saying, and unfortunately, he was on his way to get treatment. In fact, and he wants to come on and talk and thank everybody for all the support. So we look forward to that as well. But it was something about. You need to take responsibility for having polluted your community with lyrics that encourage self-violence or intra-racial community harm. So he wasn't going so far, at least in our conversation, to say they should get locked up, but he is saying you can't be, and then he went on to make the point that the state held his crew responsible for what they did. Yeah. So Emory Douglas,
but nor should the state has. But my counter would be, they shouldn't do it to Jay-Z, and they shouldn't have done it. Obviously,
So I don't know that he's saying the state should get Jay-Z, but I think that there
have been cases in which rappers, lesser known rappers, have had their lyrics entered into evidence against them.
That's right.
In violent cases.
That's right.
And there's a case happening right now of a white woman. Help me out, chat, because I want to say maybe it's in California, but the location is escaping me right now. She actually penned a book about how to murder your husband, maybe about a dozen or so years before her husband turned up dead. And it was ruled that this evidence could not be admitted against her.
It was a fictional book, I assume, though, right?
It was a fictional book. Yes. Yeah. And but a lot of rappers would argue that rap lyrics are fictional lyrics. They are people's interpretation of a situation or a fantasy composed or whatever. So it's interesting how race definitely plays a role in the ways that freedom of expression and freedom of speech are used to prosecute people criminally to beguile their thoughts or their intentions somehow.
I always take the stance that, I know Francis Ford Coppola is not getting arrested, you know what I mean? Because he puts out violent imagery of people killing each other day after day after day after day in almost every movie he makes or whatever. So it makes no sense to me that if someone writes something or reads something or raps something, that somehow that's supposed to be indicative of a criminal activity, even if it's exploring or talking about criminal activities. It's like that's supposed to be the whole realm of what free speech is. So it just makes no sense to me whatsoever, except for the
Godfather. The Godfather is not a violent film. Neither the first two. They're not violent films. They are cerebral films. They're not violent. I stand in objection to that. But somebody who is violent when it comes to those beats, he's violent with his hands. He at least talks with his hands on those turntables.
Murder, she wrote. Murder, she wrote. She damn sure wrote that shit. She's like, yo, I'm gonna kill this.
So this is like the prequel of when OJ did If I Did It. Like this is like the prologue to If I Did It.
You got to arrest Francis Coppola, You got to arrest all these directors and writers of these gangster movies if you're gonna do all that. So
Put
I mean,
Stephen King under the jail. Stephen King needs to be under the jail.
What was that movie with your boy that lost his job and just started shooting and killing everybody? I forget. He had on a tie, he had white shirt, black. I forget. But we gonna blame mass shootings on that movie and go get the director for that?
What was that? Falling Down with
Falling Down. Yeah.
Come on, man. Don't get me started. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get to the break. Let's get to it right now on Black Power Media, the Remix Show.
Remix.
Oh, yeah. What's good, everybody? Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and y'all tuned into the Boom Bap Breakfast like no other. Now, let's get right to it. Make sure y'all hit that like button, that subscribe button. You know, I must say this every time because if you're new and you just tuned in and you don't know what to do, that's what you need to do. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, notification bell. You go to blackpowermedia.org, get you some gear, and go to patreon.com, drop some change in the bucket because you know we love it. All right, so boom, what we're going to do today is I want to give a spotlight to a artist that just dropped today. Hit me up and said, yo, I'm dropping this song today, Ear Doctor. I need you to play it. And I said, say less. So this is what we're doing. This is my people right here, Masiki Scales, Common Ground Collective. You got this new song with Speech from Arrested Development. It's called Callaloo and Collins. Callaloo and Collins. So check it out.
Callaloo and Collins. Turn up greens and dollars. More bills than the means. Everybody chasing that green. Callaloo and Collins. Turn up greens and dollars. More bills than the means. Everybody chasing that green. Yeah, riding through the pages of this history book. We be the entire saga, take a second look. Now we comparing photos and you can't deny. Ancient statues and kinfolk standing side by side. Check the braids, the scars, the curves, the hips, the dance, nose, eyes, lips. Blues people, black, shades of brown. Blues people, our time is now, cause we're born free. On this round day, pay your fare. Ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. Yo, Callaloo and Collins. Turn up greens and dollars. More bills than the means. Everybody chasing that green. Callaloo and Collins. Turn up greens and dollars. More bills than the means. Everybody chasing that green.
Ear Doctor, I know you were
I
praising my vegan apple muffins, but you were muted.
Yeah, I was. My bad. Yeah, Callaloo and Collins. That's my man Masiki Scales, Common Ground Collective. Go check them out. Just dropped today.
His voice reminds me of Speech from Arrested Development.
That is Speech.
Oh, no wonder.
Yeah. No, that's
there you go.
That's Speech.
Oh, that's that. That's right. That's Speech.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. That's why he would sound like that.
That's why he would sound like Speech from Arrested Development. How come you didn't mention that, Ear Doctor?
I did.
But he was muted. So
at the beginning.
Not at the beginning.
I missed it too.
I don't think so. I missed that.
You did. I did too.
You know, y'all had to take y'all little pee break. You know how y'all young bladders be. But that's what it is. Hey, Kim, you was telling me about something earlier.
Something? Sure. What was it?
Yeah, it was about a rapper, or was it? I forget. We was gonna talk about it right after the break.
we was going to talk about the Drewski video.
Yeah,
that's it.
The Drewski video.
But he's not a rapper.
All right.
I
Well,
think-
I catch y'all.
I tell the story. I don't know what the
I
story
think we're going to start with that with the news. I think that's
Okay.
That's-
It's
I think
going off
that's
the
the
rails.
plan.
It's going off the rails.
I forgot he ain't a rapper. He's a comedian. You right.
It's cool. It's cool.
All right. Well, I
Doctor.
catch y'all after the break.
Y'all with young memories, we get it.
oh, young bladders and memories.
Young
yes.
bladders and young memories. Yes. Can somebody slap the map? God damn.
Slap it.
Shit, jeez.
I mean,
That's right. The house music mix.
Woo! Let's get it.
That's what you were going to talk with him about after the break, because he's doing a house music mix on Sundays. Thanks, May.
Yes.
So
Thank you, May.
house music all night long. House music all night long. Yeah.
Girl,
So
he did all that for a free promo. He did all that for. You can just promote his own damn thing.
Listen, I want to know, is he going to do like a Baltimore house set, a Chicago house set, a Bay Area house set? Dog, I need it all. Slim. That house music is black music. Let's go.
So Kim, before you get started, go ahead. Yeah, I'm just showing the cup.
No, just real quick, y'all. Can we say something additionally about Frank James? I mean, we talked about the misinformation already being floated out there about him. But can we discuss the way Frank James was actually apprehended yesterday? Sure. Again, and I don't trust mainstream news media to report this as such, but from what I've been able to cobble together on the internet, is that Frank James, like, for one, he allegedly dropped his credit card and his U-Haul keys at the subway station, which is part of the reason why the police were able to track him so quickly. Apparently, when the shooting and the smoke bomb explosion happened, the New York City police officer, who may have been actually on the subway, was unable to use his radio. Radio didn't work. He apparently was telling passengers to call 911, right? What's the point of having $10 billion NYPD on the subway if these niggas can't even use their radios? But okay, there's that. And then Frank James himself actually called in the tip line and said, I heard y'all looking for me. I'm going to be over here at the McDonald's in the East Village. And apparently he sat there and waited for the cops to come. Cops didn't come in a timely fashion, so he left. And that is how we got the video of the man, the regular New York City man named Zach, whom allegedly saw Frank James on surveillance and called police and told them where he was. So $10 billion worth of New York City Police Department foot power, manpower, surveillance, everything could not catch the nigga who called and told on himself. And they couldn't catch him, but regular Joe Schmo caught him, and it made an excellent example as to why we need community control of the police, because these sons of bitches are completely fumbling in the dark, inept, but they managed, like I said on my video, managed to catch every nigga jumping the turnstile, managed to clear every homeless encampment from New York City subway stations. But the person who was the mass shooter who caused a terrorist incident on the New York City subway, they were unable to catch him despite the fact
and then self-reports his location.
Yes, I'm sitting here, and everybody's at that. If that's the McDonald's that's still around in East Village, yeah, everybody sits up in there, man. Damn.
So this is perfect,
like a famous
for me
place.
because I just watched early this morning. I think foolishly Hassan Campbell's take on this, and I can't help but be compelled by his presence for other areas. But what happens, I think, in this YouTube game is that when people get a platform, they feel they need to comment on everything, even when it's not in their wheelhouse. And he has gone several lanes over. And the thing he said last night, or what I saw this morning was, so this is why Kim's reporting on this is perfectly timed for me. He said that Black Lives Matter didn't catch Frank. All of you out here talking about abolish the police. It wasn't Black Lives Matter that caught the Frank James. It was the police. You all called the police. So why you keep, and I'm not trying to say I support the police, but I am saying that it wasn't Black Lives Matter that caught that. It was, while it was comical, I was like, wow. So now you're going to use this to praise the police. And then, of course, here comes Kim with the more accurate. They didn't even do that.
They didn't do that. So.
They didn't even
I'm at
do
that
that.
McDonald's. You know the McDonald's in the East Village, nigga. I'm right here.
I'm right here. And he left. And he left. He said he waited. Apparently he
I'll
waited.
be here at
around.
11. It's like a bad date. You know what I mean? It's like, God damn.
But you know where they all were? Because this other.
Should I go?
Shout out to our Discord, to the folks in our Discord. Check the BPM Discord if you haven't already. But you know what? And I should have pulled this up now that you. But
what is the BPM
there's
Discord?
That video going around. Huh?
Can you? What's the BPM Discord?
See, Kamal don't even know what's going on his own shit. It's in the show notes to almost all the shows going up. The link to the Discord, and we have a thriving Discord with a whole bunch of different channels on it discussing all things BPM and beyond. And one of the things that was put out, I actually subscribed to 52 Blocks Info, but it was fascinating that Skeptical Mantis posted the video here where the reason the cops probably couldn't catch Frank James is because they were in the park harassing people with their workout gear, saying you got to get your workout gear out of the public park because you're disturbing the innocent, I guess, I don't know, white folks or whatever that walk through the park or whatever. So there was like 10 of them gathered, harassing these folks. Yeah, exactly. Harassing somebody, who was saying you could hear him on camera saying, I don't have gym membership money. I don't have insurance to do physical therapy in a hospital. So this is my physical therapy. Why, what is it that, and the cops are just standing around all fully armed, all of them, happily, waiting for somebody to give them.
Ready to
there
pounce.
It is. And meanwhile, Frank James is down the street talking about, yo, I'm at the McDonald's.
At the McDonald's. Gerard, I think that you actually need to tell Kamal what Discord is.
So I'm new to this too, but Discord is
why, Kim? Why?
It's another
because you seem confused, my dear. You seem a little confused.
That's what the icon looks like there. Get you to well, what's going.
Everybody in the chat, just
anyway. Whatever, just go to discord.com and then better yet, go into the show description and click. And I will put I'm gonna put the link in here for you right now, Kamal, and then everybody can
help out brother
get
Kamal.
Caught up. Help out brother
your kids
Kamal.
To help you get on Discord, Kamal. You just pass your phone to your children.
Really need to get on Discord, and it's a must. I must get on Discord. Is it?
Well, because if you remember going back to when we first launched BPM, the remixers were very quickly requesting space to prolong and extend discussions that start on the platform. So
I remember
Discord,
that. I kind of remember
and
that.
So Discord is our attempt to appease that. Yes. And we even we got some people out, we got Sister Emma is one of the managers setting up channels and so it's like a lot of, and it's a lot of stuff being shared there. So like they extend the conversation. It's I think it's pretty cool, actually. I'm new to it too.
AKA Volvo. Thank you, Volvo.
That's right. That's right.
Big time.
So jump in there and there it is. Anyway, so Kim, anyway, right on time, selfishly for me that you came in with that story because goobly goop, as the late Grady would say.
The cops, stenographers, you understand, this is what the media is, and the media allows themselves to be played in that way. And they won't I don't think they're going to, well, maybe they will. See, I think a lot of times journalists who have mainstream jobs, I think we'll watch channels like Black Power Media and even Burn It Down with Kim Brown because we be shitting on them niggas, right? We are media critics. And I think that on occasion, they may dip in here and listen to what we say and take our suggestions or our critiques and go and improve their product. I've actually kind of seen it happen a couple times, and I'm not going to take credit for it, but I mean, it's just a coincidence. For example, the story that was happening in DC here, where 2 men were arrested for allegedly impersonating federal agents. And that was the lead story. That was the headline. Instead of the headline being Secret Service agents were compromised, right? To me, like that was actually the real story, that the Secret Service agents were compromised, and local DC media ran with the story. And it turns out these guys are about to get let out of jail because a federal judge is like, what the fuck is this bullshit that these prosecutors done brought in here? These niggas had Secret Service t-shirts. Okay. You know what I mean? So anyway, it was a big overblown story. The media oftentimes gets led by the nose by the police and the political structures or whatever. And it's just shameful. The journalists are supposed to operate as a fourth estate or whatever, and be critical of power, not just recite the talking points that power gave you to tell everybody else. So yeah. Welcome.
So per my request, Kim, I don't want to go too far before we get to this story that you also brought, because I'm very curious at this point.
Yes. So let me set this up, Jared, because
sure.
I'm here to let you all know, I think, but truly, this is a conversation being had amongst younger Black folks that I'm going to assume are outside of this demographic, okay? Because it focuses on a comedian named Drewski. And prior to 2 days ago, I didn't know what a Drewski was, but Drewski is very popular out here. He has 1 million Twitter followers. I didn't even bother to go investigate the rest of his social media presence. I mean, 1 million Twitter followers is significant enough. But from what I was able to glean about Drewski's particular shtick of comedy is that his brand of comedy is to sort of make parodies or make skits about what lame niggas do. Okay. Now you can, however you want to interpret lame nigga, that's how you interpret that. But this latest video really got the internet streets talking because it hit close to home for a lot of people. And I will even confess it hit a little, it was triggering for me when I saw this video, and it has sparked a lot of conversation amongst younger Black folks, but it is a conversation that is multi-generational, I think, and something that I think would be appropriate for us to discuss here today. So Drewski has since deleted the video that we are about to watch, and I would like for us to check this out, and I'm very curious to get everyone's take on this.
Hey! It's Silent Club! Never have I ever kissed a dude. Hey, take a shot. Oh, she bullshit, bro. That baby had a shot, bro. You ain't even going to a real shot. Keep going. That's a regular shot. I got the same amount of mine. I got the same amount. Nah, you got the whole shit. Y'all already got to catch up. Finish the rest of that. Crazy. Oh, no, it's demon time, huh? Drive the boat. You gotta drive. Make sure they see it. Drive that shit. Hey, truth and dare. I didn't take 5 shots of us on the car. One more, then we done. One more, get the job done. One more, then we done. I promise. He real, he talking. One more, then we done. He telling the truth. He telling the truth. One more, then we done.
So that's the video. And as you see, Jared, right there, even on Twitter, that video has what, 6 million views, 7 million views? Like
9.8, I think.
8 million, yeah.
So this is making the rounds. Now, so what this scene depicts is, from what I saw, a group of young people hanging out and men trying to encourage the young women to get drunk and to continue drinking. And usually that usually only has one purpose, right? There's only one reason, to try to get women liquored up. For the sex, for y'all who don't know, for the sex. And the sex, once you are at a certain level of inebriation, likely may not be consensual, okay? And this is an issue that continues clearly to happen in young spaces. It happened when I was in a young space, and I'm even thinking about people in our parents' age range, the victims of Bill Cosby, et cetera, where this is a very acceptable and normal practice for young men and young women to gather together, and for the young men to possibly get the young women in a position where they may not be able to consent to their actions afterwards. And this has caused quite a kerfuffle on the internets, because some young ladies are like, well, fellas are upset about this because they see either themselves or they see the actions of their homeboys in this video. And this is stuff that they are not willing or even able to confront. But I wanted to get y'all's take, the chat's take on this, because even though we may not know who Drewski is in our 40s and 50s, the 20s and 30 somethings absolutely know who Drewski is. And rape culture is something that younger generations care a lot about, they talk a lot about, and they are willing more so to explore it than I think us of older generations. So what was y'all's take on the video that you saw? Did it bring back any memories? Because it brought back some memories for me. not fun kind.
No, a bunch of memories. And so I think this sounds worse when I share outside of my own head these things, but the reality is, for me, I have witnessed a bunch of versions of that, while myself, even in such a late bloomer sexually, such a late bloomer with coming into any sort of understanding of how to perform some sense of calm and cool collectiveness and sociability. My participation in situations like that was always to be the odd cornball out who would say we shouldn't be doing that, and to even turn women down who would approach me offering sex if they were that inebriated, because I felt like if you are this drunk, A, you can't really be consenting, and B, selfishly, it's not going to be that good. I want a fully participating partner. I want a fully conscious and aware partner. So that was always, so I was like, I would rather you sober up and we wait. And if it's still on, let it be on. I would, I was the corny guy that was like, I'd rather us have a conversation first. But at the same time, but I have actually, yeah, anyway, it brought back a lot of memories. I've seen that. And I know there are a lot of versions of that going on, even to this day, with even, higher levels of chemical involvement.
Is it an unspoken sort of thing amongst, again, because we're only talking about straight heterosexual people here. I don't know how this plays out in other communities, but like, is it sort of unspoken for younger men to be like, hey, we're going to get these chicks drunk, man. Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily stops at younger men either.
Well, you're right about
sort
that.
of my point.
But I think it depends on what crew. Depends on your crew, who you're with, what's being encouraged. I think different party scenes do different things. Like I'm probably closer to Jared in sort of being a lightweight partier, even in my heyday. So it was, I'm sorry, my bad.
Not a lightweight partier. I was just the corny dude that was saying, I'm as drunk as you. Like, I would really be taking the shots, but I'm as drunk as you. And let's sober up if we're going to do anything else. That was always sort of my thing. Or I would just be too drunk to actually even approach a woman.
So, but
I don't think drinking parties though are specifically drinking parties aren't specifically delineated through what I would say genders or sex or whatever like that. I think there is a particular male culture that's around getting women drunk or high or inebriated or not in a position to say no. But I was saying, like, my lightweight partying days were like, it was alcohol and dance, but it wasn't I wasn't with any crew like that was, but I definitely, like I think probably a lot of people in your days had, drunk sex, or you and the other person have had a lot to drink, and that spurred things on, and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's, what they were doing was on full display. Like the attempt was to try to get somebody lick it up and to see what they would do or be willing to do, or what they were going to do to them under a certain guise or whatever like that. At least it looked like that. Obviously by the time the video ended, don't know what happened later on or whatever like that.
So let me be clear. From my understanding, I mean, that was a sketch, right? That was something that wasn't like a
wasn't a real thing
situation,
okay.
Right? But
yeah.
Sort of his shtick is to parody what lame niggas do, right? I mean, that's my interpretation of what Drewski's comedy is meant to be. But guys, I mean, this is a multi-generational.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but why did he take it down then? If that because
he was getting a lot of shit. He got a lot of pushback from it. And from what I'm able to gather, and again, perhaps the chat may have more clarity on this. From what I'm able to gather, he was getting a lot of pushback from men who were very upset at how this scenario was being portrayed, right? Like, perhaps they saw themselves, perhaps they saw the actions of their friends. I'm not exactly sure what his reasons were for deleting it, but I think even by deleting it, he probably spurred more of a conversation around it than if he had opted to keep it up. I mean, I see some folks in the chat saying some really disappointing shit. Like, well, the lesson is that women need to watch their drinks and don't need to be taking pills around dudes. No, the lesson is you need to teach these motherfucking men and boys that rape is not the fucking way, okay? Like, trying to get your partner or get a person that you were interested in having sex with inebriated beyond the point of consent is a fucking problem. And we have to shift the conversation from girls need to protect themselves to men need not be predators, okay? And even if a given individual man himself is not a predator, you have seen these dudes. You may be friends with these dudes. These dudes may actually be your cousins, your homeboys, your frat brothers, your co-workers, any fucking body. And a lot of times, so-called good men, in the same way of good cops, right? Good men will sit around and watch this shit happen, not intercede, and be like, oh, well, man, that's on them, though. You know what I'm saying? You know, they grown, blah, 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 blah. But you've seen how this whole scenario is played out all night. You've seen her drink get spiked, or you've seen her being fed alcohol, and a situation ends up transpiring, and that's on them. You know what I'm saying? But this to me needs to be a cultural shift, because if kids in their teens, 20s, and 30s are still out here trying to get women drunk for the purposes of non-consensual sex, or sex of inebriation beyond consent, this is something that has been happening since their grandfathers. And I would not like for little girls who are about to be teenagers now, about to be young adults, for them to keep having to enter these situations as they try to feel their way through young womanhood, right? Like, me having to literally protect myself from being raped is a horrible sort of way to kind of go through life. Whereas these boys and young men are not being taught not to rape. They're not having these conversations around consent. I'm curious, you guys are Gen X. When did anybody ever talk to y'all about consent? Like consent, like she has to say yes, okay? I
don't think it was like a formal. I've never had a formal sit down about that with any sort of parental, to my knowledge, right? To my recollection, any parental or mentor space. But I also think there's my assumption is that for most of us, right, there was a good portion. There's a character development that's around what's considered not just acceptable behavior, and you don't do. And I think, and again, I think in the society we live in, this culture, this part of like youth culture, not necessarily the overt attempted rape, but the youth culture of wild times, drinking, and everything else everything is on the table, is also something that pervades what people think is levels of acceptance and so forth. And I think most of the time, it's not even that probably somebody is scheming hardcore, we about to rape these, blah, 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 blah. But it's probably in the back of their, it's probably more like in the back of their head, like, yo, what's she going to do? No, if I get her, if she do this, she going to take her clothes, something going to happen, get one more drink. You know, people are rationalizing in their head these activities because most people don't think of themselves, the ones, particularly those who are perpetrating, as overt evildoers, right? They're thinking, oh, this is cool, this is going to lead to this. Yeah, she wants this and all that kind of stuff.
But someone is reinforcing that come out. You know what I'm saying?
Someone in that person's peer I think I don't even think it has to be a personal reinforcement. I think there's cues, like you said, like it's not so much that I think it's passed on from, like in this particular case, we're talking about father from the son to whatever, or grandson. I think there are cues in society in terms of what people think they can get away with, that they don't interpret in their mind as being overtly sexually violent. I think that's what we're dealing with in terms of how this kind of culture continues and the phenomenon continues. It's like, you know, it's like wild stories or wild times, and then people start pushing that edge of what they think they can get away with, and what they in their mind, again, they're turning something off in their mind and saying, like you said, like, you know, you alluded to earlier, somebody wants this. They down for this. That's otherwise they wouldn't be here, right? That's I think that's the cue that turns on in people's heads. It's not so much that people are going like, I'm gonna break this, whatever. I'm not saying it's just like a few who are like that, but I think most of these sort of party situations are kind of like that, you know, that kind of like they're stepping that up or whatever like that.
I think
but we used to have, I mean, we used to have clear conversations about putting, you know, the jungle juice together and making sure it was sweet enough that the women wouldn't recognize how much liquor was in it and all of that, with the idea that this would make them more pliable and you know, it just so anyway. But going from that to straight actually acting on that and raping somebody is, well, were steps that I never, you know, saw or took, you know, that part I never witnessed or certainly engaged in. In fact, I was just trying to think, like I was the exact opposite. But to sort of to the points you both raised, I was raised with an overt, constantly expressed, you will respect women ethic. Just overt, constant messaging, almost to the point where I think it was like it went too far. I aired on the complete other side, where even years after the fact, on several occasions, women would come to me and say, "Why didn't you ever try to get with me? Like whatever, like you didn't even put in any effort. Like, you know, it's like, obviously I don't want to be raped, but you could have put in some effort. You know, where there was interest." And in fact, as I shared before, I was the one in that Brooklyn night in the Navy where I was the one, I think, slipped something and something funny was happening to me. And I think this was a crew of sisters that was on some payback. That's what I still think was going on. They might have been on some payback for what they had suffered, because I feel like we were in a, I don't know, there was something funky going on that I think we kind of elided that night. But anyway, all of that said, this is, I think, a major problem. And I think, Kim, to the point you raised earlier, the backlash I would suspect he's getting is because there are plenty of men who feel like their buttons are being pushed and being exposed. Because I've just seen so many of the scenes like that, even among decades older people. So
yeah, I definitely don't think it's strictly an age thing. I think it's a party culture. I think, you know, obviously young people probably engage in it more just because of the energy, time, and whatever. But I think, again, just the culture we build around drinking, all of us, like around hanging out, bars, and all that kind of stuff, and drinking is a major part of that. I think all of that is part of that culture of how far can we go, or this gets you lit, and you start thinking what's going to happen tonight. We drinking, what's going to happen, or something may happen with them like that. So
I think we need to build a similar culture around consent, because again, these conversations I don't think are being held enough with young men and boys. Okay. I think young girls are given early instruction early and often about how to protect yourself, how to do this, how to comport yourself, don't wear this, blah, blah, blah. Women and girls get all kinds of instructions about how we have to protect ourselves from rape. But young men and boys seldom get that instruction about obtaining consent, about obtaining enthusiastic consent. Hey, about maybe not trying to drug someone or get someone drunk enough that they would want to drunkly have sex with you. Like, I just think that these conversations, this same instruction is not being given to men and boys in the same way it's given to women and girls. And that is, in my opinion, why this shit continues to pervade. And there are a lot of young men and boys who are getting very bad messages from the male figures in their life. Encourage them to be pussy hounds. Get as much as you can, or as much as you can, and by any means necessary. If she sleep, if she drunk, so what? You know what I'm saying? And you'd be really surprised at how these very toxic and harmful messages are still being passed down even to this day. So I'm very glad that the young folks are having a conversation around this. I'm glad that there are some young men and boys out here who are very uncomfortable, perhaps maybe even seeing themselves in that video. Good, because if you a creepy ass nigga, rapey ass nigga out here, you need to be called out. You need your ass whooped. You need a lot of bad things to happen to you if that is your modus operandi in trying to obtain sex from women. I'm sorry, Jared, you were going to say something.
No, I think I don't know. I don't. That's all perfectly said. I just think selfishly, and if I get that rape is often not about sexual experience and it's about power, dominance, and violence. But if there's ever any consideration, I just want to highlight again, not only is it better to get consent and it's not the decent and correct thing to do, and obviously you don't want to rape, but the experience is better when you have an energetically consenting, conscious, comfortable participating partner. Everything
says
just
you,
gets better.
Jared. Says you, well, Jared. There's a lot of creepy niggas out here, and this is what I want y'all to.
Well, that's why
y'all good brothers need to understand how many fucking dirt balls there are out here, and you guys are speaking from your good brother experience, and I appreciate that. But I don't want you guys to ignore the ain't shit collective out here of men who are out here pussy hounds and out here to get it no matter what. Even at their advanced age, even thinking about trying to roofie chicks. And I mean, it's outrageous. And the thing is, just like white, if we're going to have any sort of evolution of freedom, right, in trying to get white supremacy to disband itself, I guess, that's going to take an active role in white people to do that, right? So same thing goes for rape culture. If rape culture is going to go away, if your daughters are going to be safe as they go out into this world, the conversation starts with men. The conversation starts with the rapers, not the rape victims. You dig? And that is what I do not see enough of. And that to me is bothersome. So yeah, sorry.
Right on. Ear doctor back in the building, out in space.
Hey, I came to bring a little positivity. I hear everything you're saying, Kim.
Positivity. Yeah. Bring it.
Yeah, actually what I do is every Monday, me and a bunch of a group, we have a thing called the Black Man Lab, and we bring youth from 3 years old to men 80 years old, and we have conversations about relationship, about entrepreneurship, about all these different things that we need to have these conversations about. So yeah, it's not being done, but it's a lot of us men that's out here making these moves, making sure that these youth know what's going on.
You talking to them about consent, ear doctor? I'm curious.
We talk about all that because it's not being talked about. So you have to find a safe and sacred environment to have these conversations with these boys, or they're not going to listen. So you gotta do different things. Like 1 week we'll deal with development of spiritual development. Next week we'll deal with entrepreneurship. Next week we'll deal with something else. So that's what you got to do. You got to actually get out there in these streets and make it happen.
And can I say something else just really quickly, ear doctor? So I saw a tweet from a person who had an elementary age school daughter, whom, per her Twitter thread, said that a little boy had came up to her daughter and choked her daughter on the playground. And when they went to the principal's office, the principal's response is, "Oh, he likes you." And that's the kind of behavior that I'm talking about. Like that is the shit that starts very early, where boys are socialized and conditioned to put their hands on girls and women. And the girls' response, or the way that women are supposed to be socialized to interpret this violent assault, is that, oh, he likes you. Oh, he thinks you're cute. Oh, he just wants to like you and hug you and be your friend. Like, check that shit early. Check it early and often when they are little.
Yeah. No doubt. We've been raised in the European style culture, so that's what's to expect. So we got to work on doing it. We got to get out here and have these conversations with them. And if we just sitting behind these computers just talking about it, that ain't getting none done. So get in your organization, go out there and make something happen. Talk to these youth, girls too, because they need to know some things that a lot of women don't even, some girls don't even know how to wipe themselves correctly. So we need to get in these organizations and have these conversations with these youth and do something and not just talk about it.
I feel you.
That said, let's go ahead.
Just real quick.
Okay.
Forgive me. I got to jump to class. So peace, everybody. If everybody can come back at 10 o'clock for a little bit of fun we're having about the HBCU thread. And peace to everybody. Great remix week. And I will see you all later today and tomorrow morning. So peace.
Work on the muffins, man. Work on the muffins.
Please.
Conspiracy.
Get them crunchy, Jerry.
Just stay out the kitchen, man.
Work that with that, man.
Let's go. Remix Morning Show. What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? Welcome out once again to the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and that's right in the background. Hey, I'm still playing some Masiki scales. I got another song that came off his album, The Water Brought Us. That's right, The Water Brought Us. Dope album, as you can see. When we talk about going through the middle passage and stuff like that, it's some good tunes. So let's check out this next one right here, and it is called Gravity.
Thought I was from another planet as I sailed across the sky. It's a stellar definition to begin a black planet by. We fly so high, couldn't be higher if we was high, or furthermore higher than the sky. Come along on this ride, there's definitions to define. We don't have to believe in gravity. We don't have to believe in gravity. We don't have to believe in gravity. We don't have to believe. Into this world is spitfire like a dragonfly. See that which is found in nature is also deep in you and I. 'Cause I got wings, you got wings, we got wings. All God's children got them fly things. We don't have to believe in gravity. We don't have to believe in gravity. We don't have to believe in gravity.
With you and the mute button, son. What's going on? Do you know how to work it? Is it you? Is it what's going on?
All I heard was music.
What happened with that? What's going on with you today?
All right, my bad. I'm doing a lot over here.
You doing a lot?
It's a lot of buttons.
It's a lot of buttons every day, though, Ear Doctor. Is it not?
It is. It's just like a lot of passwords. You know how you got all these different passwords and stuff. You be like, damn, what is the password this time? You know, if I'm doing a podcast, if I'm DJing, if I'm doing production on a video. Anyway, we here. No excuse.
Get that mute button down. That's all I'm saying. That's all.
Yeah.
But
no, I did join the I joined the what's the Discord?
Discord?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I was like, it's just like another
thing on your phone.
Yeah,
that's what bother you. Yes.
It's like I put it on my laptop. I couldn't deal with it on my phone. I was like, I just throw it on my laptop.
That's right, the Discord. But yeah,
it really made me nervous and shit. People were talking about me. So
Masiki Scales Common Ground. Check it out.
Sorry about that.
Hey, I mean, was that Jill Scott singing under another name? Because it sounded a lot like Jilly too.
Nah. That was a sister called Ingrid Sibley. That was her name.
She has a beautiful voice.
Yeah. I actually used to perform with that band on stage, so that's why I'm giving mad love. And plus, they dropped a new single today, so there it is.
Hey, it's shit tight too. Doctor, drop the link in the chat for the people if they want to pick it up or listen to it another spot.
Will do. But they can go follow that man right here at Masiki Scales Common Ground and get some more information on it. All right.
Dope. Right. Thank you, Air Doctor.
I'll catch y'all next break.
Deuces, my G. Yeah, I see. We got the folks all fired up in the chat, which is great.
That's always your way, Kim.
That's unintentionally. I assure you, it's not. It is not by design there, Kamal. So I do have another story, unrelated to the previous topic. I'm not sure if you had a story that you wanted to get into or not. There,
I've already pulled up your story. Is that the Biden to Modi?
Yes, sir.
I'm ready for it.
Hey. So what was that, a week or two ago, guys, where we took a look at I think it was the Indian parliament, and the petrol minister of India was saying, hey man, this Russian oil out here is on the cheap, and they said we can buy it in rupees, so I think we need to go ahead and cop some of that Russian oil for the low. And India was like, yep, we're gonna do that. And Russia said cool. And Jen Psaki, the Biden's press secretary, was asked about it at the time, and she sort of blew it off. But apparently it's a bigger problem than what the Biden administration was alluding to, because now, this is a Reuters piece, of course, so take that as you will. The headline reads, Biden to Modi, buying more Russian oil is not in India's interest. So this is actually something that was pretty predictable here, Kamal. So let's go. President Joe Biden told Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi that buying more oil from Russia was not in India's interest and could hamper the U.S. response to war in Ukraine, according to U.S. officials. Starting in an hour-long video call, U.S. officials described as, quote, warm and candid. Oh, God. When the U.S. president calls you talking candid, Kamal, you know that motherfucker's talking shit.
In your ear. It's like, you know, them tax credits you was getting or those loans you were expecting. That's what you got to love about diplomacy. Is this the way to tell somebody, I'm going to pull your coat, but to say it in language which is nice and flowery. But basically, it is, you know, he's letting them know this is our world economy. And if you try to go outside of it and do something we're telling you not to do, there will be consequences. And I'm sure they listed all the possibilities, again, in very diplomatic language, of what will happen to India. Well, if you buy that oil, then we might have to sanction all the companies or the state apparatus that purchased the oil. And if we do that, it's going to have a detrimental impact on your larger economy. So it would behoove you to find another source of cheap oil.
First of all, hold on, time out. Is somebody playing like
there is happening in my background. I'm gonna fix that.
It's cool. I thought I was bugging. I'm like, is my shroom still left over from last night?
No. That's some background. That's some background Beethoven in my household right now.
Imagining things. It's fine. So, continuing in the Reuters piece. So Biden stopped short of making a, quote, concrete ask of Modi on Monday, an official said, noting that India has concerns about deepening ties between Russia and China. Of course they do. But then he told Modi's, then Biden told Modi that India's position in the world would not be enhanced by relying on Russian energy sources, U.S. officials said. Quote, the president conveyed very clearly that it is not in their interest to increase that, according to White House spokesperson Jen Psaki. India's external affairs minister, a gentleman with a very long name, I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce it, at a news conference later on Monday, pushed back against a question on India's energy purchases from Russia, saying that the focus should be on Europe, not on India. Quote, probably our total purchases for the month would be less than what Europe does in an afternoon. Talk that shit, India. Let them know. Say, hey, the EU still buying Russian oil? What the fuck? Why are y'all talking shit to us?
But they're white, and so it's okay. They can wean themselves off. Basically, it's like Europe is different. Don't you understand? There's levels to this shit, and you're still at a lower level. You got to get off now. Europe gets to wean itself off because they're our partners, and we don't want to do anything to their economy, so they can take their time. But your economy, we don't really care about it. And in terms of this GDP and all that kind of stuff, we're sure it's lower down. And so, it's not going to have a larger impact on the world economy. And so they don't care. You stop buying the oil and stop buying it now. Well, there are going to be consequences.
Get down and lay down.
Yep.
Candid and warm.
Yes.
U.S. diplomacy.
There's not going to be a lot of the back and forth, And I'm sure it was a nice conversation because, that's what the diplomacy is. But it's very straightforward. And I'm sure the message was sent. And India has to make its own decisions. Is it going to be an independent nation? Is it going to make its own decisions? Or is it going to continue to operate in such a way where the U.S. gets to dictate policies? And, the other threat of course, is if we stop selling you certain weapons, Pakistan will then have an advantage because Pakistan is the historical enemy. So I'm sure all the, economic, military,
but
all of that.
The U.S. arming Pakistan and India.
Yes. Because when you're a superpower, that's how you do it. Everybody's on the map. You know what I mean? It's amazing when you look at the sophistication of it because it's something you do have to give. They look at a map and it's like the same way. They give money both to Israel, they give money to Egypt, they give money to Saudi Arabia because they have their larger goals. And their larger goals, they don't care what your goals are, right? But they have their own larger goals, and whatever works for them will work for them. So
how do you view this in through the lens of the multipolarization realignment that we could possibly be in the midst of? Yes. So if India, takes the word of Joe Biden, like, okay, you know what, psych, we're going to keep buying this Russian oil, and what? Actually, we going to get cozier with China.
Yeah,
we might get tighter with China, my G, and what? What y'all going to do?
Well, that is a good comeback, but China ain't got no oil. So
facts. But China got everything else, though. China got everything else. China ain't got no oil, but got everything else.
I still think we're under the guise of a slow realignment. But the same thing, look what just happened in Pakistan, where one prime minister was replaced. And part of that conversation is that because one of the main reasons was because that prime minister was trying to pull back from a close relationship to U.S. and U.S. military, and the Pakistan military stepped in. There's no reason to suggest that the same is not possible for India. India may think it elects its own leaders and thinks it has some modicum of independence, but under a pluralist system, that leader may find there might be some reason found for that leader to have a new velvet revolution or a new colorful revolution that causes that leader to step down if that leader steps out too much. And because because there's so many different factions that are operating obviously within anybody's system, but factions that could be pulled away because of the money and the resources that are offered to them and the prestige and power that are offered to them through U.S. hegemonial practices, that they cause splits in these nations. And I think that very same thing happened in Ukraine, which is why we're here. I think Ukraine allowed itself to be used. To me, is no justification. It's not a justification for the overt invasion necessarily, but I think Ukraine allowed itself to be used by the West as a sort of like, hey, let's play around with this NATO thing because we'll protect you, knowing that it would push Russia, knowing that Russia would react to it. And as opposed to Ukraine being far more delicate in how it dealt with it, it wanted to be under the Western auspices or receive other resources it possibly could from the West, which is much more powerful than just Russia, except for the fact that it sits on Russia's border. It's a nation state right next to Russia and easily invadable. And so, yeah.
When was the last time you can recall seeing like this white saviorization of Zelensky? And I find it really weird. I mean, just I can't recall having seen a foreign leader get elevated in this way culturally in the US and get all of this support and then show up in all these weird fucking places. Like when Zelensky addressed the Grammys, I'm like, why? I'm confused. And then I saw a tweet. I'm confident that this was factual and credible. Correct me if I have this wrong, chat. But Zelensky apparently requested to address the Kenyan parliament, and Kenya was like, for what? No. But he has addressed, the British Parliament and the U.S. Congress, and he's addressed all these foreign leaders, and everything he's asking for, he's like, nigga, we need more tanks, more missiles, more planes. Zelensky ain't asked for food. He ain't asked for doctors. All he wants is weapons. And everything about this theater is, I'm like, this shit don't even look right. This shit don't sound right. And of course, I am not educated nor articulate enough to explain why it don't look right or sound right. But I can recognize. I'm like, this ain't right.
No, you're right. I mean, that's enough. It's obviously it's not the first time. I think it's reached a certain level of spectacle. Yeah, an absurdity. But remember, I'm not gonna remember his name off the top of my head, but the Ethiopian Prime Minister at one point was lifted up, given a Nobel Peace Prize, a savior. He can work with the Americans, kind of thing. And within certain American media, he was hailed as a hero. And the U.S. constantly does that, right? And the moment Zelensky tilts towards Russia, though, or begins to try to resolve this issue in a way in which the West does not appreciate, then the West will come back and villainize him. Because the West doesn't have permanent enemies and permanent friends. What it has is permanent interests, as the saying goes. And those interests means that these leaders are replaceable. Part of the going back a little bit in history, the history of the Vietnam War, the war on Vietnam by the West was to continually replace leader after leader in so-called South Vietnam, particularly once those leaders showed themselves to be starting to deal with the North to bring an end to the war, an end to the conflict, and to reunite Vietnam under some unified system. Every time that was to happen, the U.S. pulled support from that leader, allowed or worked with another so-called military leader to overthrow and kill and take that one's place. So I think that's the part of the history of the West, is to build you up. They built up Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was a huge ally and friend of the United States. Welcomed, got meetings and everything.
But not culturally, though. They wasn't having Saddam.
No, he didn't go that far.
Choice Awards. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what I think we're seeing with Zelensky here, culturally, you know what I'm saying? Politically, I don't think we can subtract the politics, but I'm talking about culturally. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a heartthrob. Like these, white women think he's sexy. I just find it really weird and really intentional and really insidious.
Very intentional. Yeah. Very intentional. Because ultimately this is not about him, even though he's a stand-in for something. This is about cornering Russia. This is about encircling Russia. This is about making Russia become know its place within the world order. And I think that's, and to do that partly is to create these heroes and to create a certain level of victimhood. After 3 days of war, you had the New York Times with headlines talking about genocide, right? Genocide is on a. So you're right. We're in real time witnessing U.S. propaganda, not only through mainstream media and intellectual media outlets, but through entertainment outlets, and the way in which, again, the way in which we are told to wear. They're starting to do the ribbon campaigns for Ukraine, or you'll just see everywhere, like on social media, these things that pop out anywhere, like send money, food, everything else to Ukraine, as if somehow this is the first and only incident in the world where you have places like Syria, you have places like Libya, you have other places where the U.S. is supporting war, and there's those same levels of wait a minute, the U.S. is actually causing this harm, and so if you're causing this harm, you should be doing something to stop it. That's that same level of hysteria. Nothing for Palestine, nothing for other places. Doesn't take place, right? Because it's about the propaganda system, and that's really what it is about. This is a certain level of propaganda.
That propaganda is on and popping too, Kamau. I mean,
it's on and popping. It's getting people canceled. It's getting shows canceled. It's getting news taken off the air. It's reaching that level of you can see it in real time. All dissenting voices are getting squashed, and you got to get down with the program. And if you're not down with the program, then you are pro-Russian, you're anti-democracy, you're pro-genocide, all of these things. And you cannot have a platform, particularly a platform that's reaching anybody, if you don't buy in to the propaganda that's handed out. And I will say about the sophistication is, in the U.S. system, right? It's not like the state has to do it itself. The state could just put the word out, and then all the different corporations understand it's time for us to get in order. It's time for us to make sure that we are doing what we are supposed to be doing, and to cut off all these other things.
Yo, speaking of the state putting the word out and making everybody get in line, I wish I would have remembered to bring this up while Jared was still on with us, but some potential late breaking news, at least as of this morning, the rumor is that Elon Musk is actually going to buy Twitter.
We talked about that yesterday too. We said
we talked about him being on the board, right?
No, I know. Yesterday, the news broke that he was not going to
be on the board.
Yeah, and so we speculated. And so it's yeah.
Oh, well, then y'all were right. Y'all were preeminent in your speculation. Yeah, the word is that Elon's might buy Twitter outright. And then if you have any sort of critique about the billionaire class or about the military industrial complex, or if you are anti-war, anti-imperialist, you can forget it, because Elon's going to shut all that shit down, shut it all down.
Don't you say nothing bad about Tesla. It's the best car in the world.
Don't say nothing about South African apartheid. Don't say nothing about the theft of Africa's resources. Don't say nothing about that. Don't talk about cooing people. Remember when Elon did? Who was it? Was it Evo Morales that he openly threatened to coup on Twitter?
Oh no, I didn't remember that.
This was a while ago, and he since deleted it. But anyway, so yes, so you guys actually were on to something. So for all the people like myself who I prefer Twitter. I don't like social media. It's very messy. It's a very messy space. But in terms of information, I think Twitter probably out of all of them does the best in providing information, good critique, good commentary, better than Facebook, better than a lot of them. But so if Musk gets his hands fully on Twitter, I think I don't think he will improve Twitter. I think Twitter will see more censorship in the ways that we saw hood communists unceremoniously had their accounts suspended for no obvious reason whatsoever except being Black and radical. I think we could probably expect more of that. Elon Musk himself, I think, is sympathetic to white supremacist and white extremist voices. So we'll probably see an elevation and possibly even a return of certain voices. Maybe even Trump. He might even let Trump come back to Twitter. You know
I'm sure he will. Because I agree with you. I agree with you. I think his mantle is going to be he's about free speech, but what that really means is I'm about making sure these right-wing voices get heard. Yes. I don't think they're getting heard enough. I'm about them getting heard. And it's all an ego trip, right? I mean, what else is it but an ego trip? The guy, he's been a critic of Twitter for years, and so this is his position. I think he maneuvered himself into position through buying the stock to say, I'm now going to purchase it. And I, again, we speculated about this yesterday. Probably the reason he was even offered the board seat, or they were trying to get him on the board, was to stop him from going down this road. And I think at some point he took that 180 and was like, you know what? I'm rich. I got these help.
Very.
I'm just going to buy it.
Can you imagine, Kamal, when, I mean, first of all, I know you can't imagine having that kind of money because you would never have that kind of money because you would give it all away, right? I know you would immediately redistribute it. I know you would not settle upon billions of dollars. But nigga, if I was in a position to buy my enemies, dog, I'd be a whole menace. I'd be a whole menace out here. Enemies ought to be afraid. And, you know, that's the kind of power that wealthy white men only seem to yield themselves, yes?
They're like, it's a great system for them. I mean, that's why they're never, you know, for the most part, they'll tinker around the edge, but for the most part, they are always down with keeping the system intact because for them, it works. And for anybody else who complains, it's sour grapes. It's you didn't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's exactly what it is for them. It's there's an excuse for everything that they do because they're the owners of the system.
Yes. Anyway, so there's that little bit of news. Do you have a story, Kamal? Because Minister Server is properly reminding us to talk about the young man in Grand Rapids, Michigan, who was executed by police. And I'm gonna tell y'all straight up here on BPM, kids, I'm not here for them black murdered videos. I can't do it. I do not have the emotional range nor capacity nor ability to watch black people get assassinated on camera over and over again by fucking piggy ass cops. But I think the story is absolutely worth us discussing because, you know, it just asks another reason, you know, how come we are not out in the streets? And I think there are going to be people in the streets. If you're not familiar with the story, hold on. Let me make sure.
Before you do that, let's do that. The ear doctor, I think, is waiting in the wing.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Let's get to the ear doctor, who looks like he's either about to give an award of some kind.
Welcome out to the Bloskers. Welcome out. Oh, we see Kamal out there in the audience. Nice shirt, Kamal. TJ Maxx must have been having to close himself.
There you go.
Oh, and look over there. There's Kim. There's Kim right there. Weren't you the third member of Salt and Pepper before you got kicked out? Cayenne, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I'm still bitter. I want run me my money, Salt and Pepper and Cinderella.
All right. So yeah, I did my little roast. That's how we doing at the Bloskers. That's over with. Now let's get giving somebody an award. All right. Now, real quick, I want y'all to help me out on this. What is pronounce this brother's name? Gennaro Esposito.
Giancarlo.
I couldn't recognize him at first.
I didn't recognize him either. I'm like, who is that?
He looks so familiar, but I was like, who is this?
Giancarlo Esposito. There we go.
Giancarlo.
Yeah.
Just say it's like John. Giancarlo. Esposito.
All right, G. So we're gonna go there right about now. Let's get it.
I'm with it.
I'm gonna honor the dude. You don't know his name.
Remix morning show. Let's.
Yeah. What's good, everybody? Ain't nobody coming up on this stage getting smacked. Believe that. All right, so check this out. We are talking about no other than my man, Mr. Esposito. That's right. So let me tell you about this dude, man. First of all, we gotta take it back. He's from Copenhagen, Denmark. You know that. That's wild, right? So he was his parents was a stagehand. His dad was a stagehand from Naples, and his mom was a opera singer in a nightclub in Alabama. But they got up out of there and moved to Manhattan. He went to college out there, and then he started doing Broadway and doing stage shows. His first play was as an enslaved child. Crazy, right? But y'all remember him and see him now on Better Call Saul. You can see all the Spike Lee movies and see he was in School Days, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, Malcolm X. Dude was even in Taps, King of New York, Harley Davidson, The Marlboro Man, Fresh, Unusual Suspects, Last Holiday, Maze Runner. I mean, Rabbit Hole, which was a dope movie. If y'all never seen that, man, listen. So many movies so many TV shows. I mean, the list goes on and on. I could just go on about how many different shows he's been on, but I just wanted to give him his props because they haven't gave him his props, and we know we don't care about what they do. I mean, the dude was in Waiting to Exhale, Twilight, TV shows he was in, Sesame Street. He took it all the way back to Sesame Street. This was back in 82. I mean, this dude's been on the scene acting for mad long. So Homicide, Third Watch, The Practice, Soul Food. I mean, everything. Half and half. Forget about it. This guy has put in the work. So we here at Black Power Media wanted to give him this Blaska. So big up to you, my brother. Keep up the good work, and we will continue to watch as you do your thug thizzle. And do not step on that man's sneakers as you've seen, and do the right thing, or it is going to be problems. Now let's get back to the Remix Morning Show, y'all.
Sal, how come ain't no black people up on the wall? Sal,
that was it.
Sal, how come my wife is so?
Oh no!
Stop! Come out! No!
You know,
leave that man alone.
I'm just saying, though.
His dad is from Naples.
Leave him alone.
They're exes though. They were ex. My bad.
Look at you, dipping and dabbing in and do not know what's happening, Kamal.
Well, I mean, I knew it was happening. I'm just saying, it ain't happening no more. 2 decades it was happening, but it ain't happening.
Here, doctor, outstanding selection there. Giancarlo Esposito is one of the great black thespians of our generation. Yes, he largely does go unheralded by the mainstream, but yes, he is Blaska worthy. Lifetime achievement Blaska. Give it to him.
That's right.
True,
that's right.
True.
That's
great
what we do. We give our props out to everybody out there that's doing their thing, that's representing the culture, and that's what it is. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Great actor.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Kamal. Ow, I ain't no brothers on the wall. Yeah. He was in every
that made his career.
Movie.
That made his career right there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then he was, and then the later people know him from Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad.
He was great in Breaking Bad.
He was fantastic.
Really good.
Fantastic. No, yeah. I mean, he's a great actor. No doubts about that. Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah. When he got blew up though in Breaking Bad, I was disappointed. I was hoping he was going to live longer.
I thought that was actually a really good scene, especially for makeup and special effects with half his face blown off. Like I was like, yo, yeah. But no, he gives you performance. I respect that tremendously about Giancarlo.
True.
And I hope we're saying his name correctly. There are people in the chat telling us that we are mispronouncing his name. It's not intentionally, guys. We just ignorant. But listen, anyway, but a sad story, and it's not sad. It's tragic. It is something that is too oft repeated, and we are here having to deal with our hearts broken again. So the link that I dropped in the chat, it actually contains a video. I would actually prefer that we do not play it. But for people who are familiar, because I can't. I mean, can we agree on this as a family, everybody? Like, I believe when people said that the man was shot in the head, I don't need to watch him get shot in the head. You know what I'm saying? Like it's traumatic enough to understand, to even know the details about what happened to him. I certainly don't need to internalize it and watch it and be sitting with that trauma also. But so this is what happened to Patrick Lyoya. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. So this is according to 13 News in Grand Rapids. The incident happened on Monday, April 4th, just after 8 a.m. near the intersection of Griggs Street and Nelson Avenue Southeast in Grand Rapids. Authorities said Grand Rapids police officer initiated a traffic stop. How many of these things start with traffic stops come out? Initiated a traffic stop on a vehicle with faulty license plates. Lyoya, who was driving the vehicle, fled from police on foot. So he ran away. After a physical struggle with the officer, Lyoya was shot and killed. This is according to the Grand Rapids Police Chief, Eric Winstrom. Confirmed the officer's body cam was found at the scene, but said it wasn't clear how it came off. Now, what's being alleged online is that the cop actually turned off his body-worn camera before the shooting. Lyoya's family disputes these claims, saying that Lyoya's car had broken down in the street and that he had stepped out of the car to see what the problem was when a Grand Rapids police officer arrived. His family says that he and the officer argued. Then the officer got a hold of him and put him on the ground. The officer then shot Lyoya in the back of the head, the family says. The officer at the center of this investigation has not been publicly identified, but Grand Rapids Police Department did say the officer joined the department in 2015. The officer has been placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. According to the Grand Rapids police chief during a news conference last week, said that the officer would be interviewed 72 hours after the incident, as is common police practice, which, you know, regular people aren't afforded that fucking shit, are they?
Not at all. Not at all.
However, 7 days after the shooting, Michigan State Police officers told 13 On Your Side News that the officer had not yet been questioned a whole week later after the incident. Shocker, shocker, shocker. So again, Kamau, you know, we have an incident where a young black man is murdered by the police for simply trying to flee, evade, run away. And one of the efforts that
possibly not, again, based
correct.
on the family story, or possibly not. Right.
That's right. Thank you for that correction. But what we can agree on is that these efforts towards police reform that liberals really tend to champion, like, oh, if we get body-worn cameras, then the cops can't lie about what happens. Oh, but if the police can turn the cameras on and off at will, well, then your whole little reform goes out the window, doesn't it?
If cameras fall off, they get turned off, all of that spot. And then the fact that I think that when you read the bottom part of it about the 72 hours, so most of the provisions around having to wait before an officer is interviewed are union negotiated contractual relationships around what happens after an officer shooting. And then they have now become policy in a general way by police departments. And like you, dead on point, regular citizens are not afforded the ability to wait 72 hours before they're pressured, attempted to be questioned. There's no provision that's allowed. And this is supposed to be a criminal investigation at this stage. Why is this officer allowed 72 hours, basically, in my interpretation, to get their story together, to talk to their lawyers, to talk to fellow police officers, to figure out exactly what the tale is that they're going to tell, that no one else is afforded in any sort of criminal investigation. And then further, the fact that they haven't even gone and interviewed this person a week later, they've decided to not even do it, which tells you how seriously they take this case. Whatever the officers said happened is basically the story that the officials are putting out. And it's only going to be up to the family and obviously to whatever attorney that they hire and to the community organizers and activists to put pressure through any means necessary to put pressure on the city and the state to take this seriously.
I'm just thinking about Ryan LaRue, 21-year-old black man here in Montgomery County, Maryland, who was murdered by police when he was experiencing a mental health crisis. Montgomery County announced that there will be no charges filed against the officers who killed Ryan, and they have already been placed back on duty. No charges filed against the officers who murdered Amir Locke in Minneapolis. I mean, it's no consequence for this come out. And I think that's really what it horrifies us. It enrages us. It makes me want to tear shit down and makes me despondent at the same time, if that makes any sense, right?
Like, I think it's the general feeling that people have about it, isn't it? I mean, we've had two time periods recently where we've had huge, maybe 3 time periods recently. We've had huge upsurges in people being on the street to fight against not only police violence, but vigilante violence, going all the way back at sort of a decade to Trayvon Martin, and then to Mike Brown, and then more recently to Floyd and others, were sort of like, all of this mass protest in the street. We had a quote unquote movement that came out of it. And then they'll look at what happened to a lot of the resources given to that movement, and the lack of any real, forward motion on stopping these incidents from taking place. So I think a lot of people do feel despondent. A lot of people feel, and then, you know, these stories also followed a similar track of, even from the family's perspective, is what do you do? Someone gets killed, of course you make a strong uproar, but you hire somebody like Crump, right? And what is Crump good at? He's good at settling. So his advice is going to be to the family is to train them sort of how to give talking points, to make sure that they talk about some reform. But for the most part, this is unfortunately going to be about making sure that the family is somehow given some I want to just call it blood money, but basically compensation to sort of make this, like, you know, to make this go away in some ways. So I don't know what's going to happen in the street, but I think a lot of people are feeling despondent around organizing in these fashions, and I think some of that is because of the last 10 years. And again, when there were folks out on the street, what actually happened to those so-called movements over time.
I feel guilty because when it was stuff for Trayvon and Mike Brown and Terrence Sterling, like I showed up, I went out in the streets and did that. But because of my disability, I'm not able to get out in the streets like I could. It's just not, it's not safe for me to do so. So I feel like a hit dog sometimes hollering when I'm from behind my computer screen or with my phone in my hand and I'm tweeting or I'm talking about on my show the topics. Like, I want to do more, but I know that there are a lot of people like me who may not be physically able to get in the streets. And I know there's things that we can do, and I'm just trifling and lazy, basically. So let me not.
It doesn't sound like you trifling and lazy. I mean, you got a whole show dedicated to conversations around not only what happens to our people, but obviously all the BS that's happening in general society. So don't be too hard on yourself, because you're doing the role that you can play. And as a journalist, if you're uncovering information, if you're telling the truth about the practices that are happening by the government and how that impacts us as a people and the larger population, you've done your job. You know what I mean? So don't be too hard on yourself. You're doing some good work out there.
Appreciate that, Kamal. Can I get your take on Crump? I hate to even put it out there like that because I don't want to attack him individually per se. But I see Ben Crump a lot of places, man. Ben Crump actually was even standing with a Colombian family in Los Angeles. And unfortunately, I can't remember the teenager's name, but LAPD shot and killed a teen girl in a Burlington coat factory. I think it was the week before Christmas. Willy-nilly came in there shooting and ended up murdering this girl who was in a dressing room. And Ben Crump is representing her family as well. And Ben Crump has already tweeted about Patrick's case in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I'm assuming Ben Crump is going to be parachuting in on the scene pretty soon if he hasn't already. But, you know, Kamau, when I think about the brothers and sisters who were murdered by police during the civil rights era, whose names we often never knew or don't know, whose families never received any sort of compensation ever. Police never even missed a day of work after murdering Black people. Is it progress that the families of those murdered by the state, that they do receive some sort of compensation? Is that, does that count as progress in your opinion?
I don't know if I count it as progress, but it's sort of standard of fare on how problems are solved or problems are looked at. You know, again, through the lens in which we live in, most things are considered solvable through cash.
But it's standard now. It wasn't always standard, right?
No, it wasn't always standard, but it's been there for 25 or 30 years. And so I'm not necessarily saying that the family obviously should not be compensated, that there should not be compensation. I think the problem for me comes that the larger worldview is usually that compensation will satisfy these things as the institution continues to do what it does. And so, and again, because we take these cases as individual cases, as bad apple cops and so forth, one monetary payment after another, it's how we resolve something that's unresolvable, because the police are going to continue to be brutal, harmful and murderous to our people, because that's what the institution was created to do, right? So I do understand the need for compensation, but the greater and Crump's role in that, I to me is similar. It's like he's a mystery in the sense that I don't ever remember him being known for winning a huge case or coming on the scene because he won. When I mean won, I mean jury trial of some sort. You know, everybody knows where folks. What was OJ's lawyer's name again? It's escaping me real quick.
Johnny Cochran.
Johnny Cochran. Yeah, Johnny Cochran came from winning like major cases. Crump's name seems to come up from winning settlements or getting settlements, and somehow he used that to make himself the nationally known attorney for police misconduct cases because of the settlements. And to be quite frank, frankly, the settlements that probably almost any lawyer worth their salt could be getting for their clients. But for whatever reason, he has risen to that sort of, if something happens, that's who we call. And again, I don't think there's anything magical that, in my estimation, outside looking in, that he does that makes him the go-to person. But again, he's done that for himself. But the larger issue still will always be the fact that these police agencies are criminal by nature when it comes to their treatment, their role in our lives. And compensation will never resolve that larger issue. But of course, individual families want something to put a balm to help with potentially medical bills, potentially, obviously, someone having a child or a wife or a husband, mothers and fathers who have had a family member taken away. So obviously we understand the need for that. But I think it's, it comes as a dual-edged sword where the actual work to whether or not we call it abolish or create radical reform or revolutionary viewpoint to do something more against the police, it just doesn't happen because folks who are sort of trained in this outlook of this is what happens when these cases take place.
At the risk of sounding crass, I'm just curious, Kamal, what is the cut that an attorney would take from a settlement reached with the city or with the state in a wrongful death or civil suit that the cases that Ben Crump usually kind of takes, hypothetically speaking, counselor?
Oh, there's no hypothetical. States have different standards. So some states it's a third off the top plus expenses. Other states is closer to 40-45% even. And again, that does not include expenses. So what normally happens is that attorneys will make a list of the expenses, and that could be everything from investigations, witnesses, other attorneys who've worked on the case. All of that stuff can be counted, and then after that's paid off, then whatever's left, that attorney can get a third to 40% of that, and then the family gets their cut. So attorneys make great money. And again, police brutality cases used to be somewhat of a niche. I used to do them myself in terms of settlements. So there used to be more of a niche area of work because other places, like in a place, certain places are far more quote unquote generous than others, right? But I think even now, as always in the South, it's always been lacking in the amount of compensation or how it gives out compensation for issues of state violence, whether or not that's police violence or prison violence and so forth. Some of that is changing, and a lot of these resources are given by the localities, right? So it's the cities or the counties, wherever these police officers are working for these. So it operates on that realm, but it has become again, when you have somebody like a Crump or somebody who has the ability to do this at a national level, which means they have law firms in individual places on individual states that can practice in that locality. It's something where, if a case is settling for 3 million, 5 million, 7 million, that's a huge cut that an attorney gets. And then I will also say there's the rumors are that particularly during the heyday of Sharpton, right? Not only, but Sharpton would help direct families to certain attorneys who were in Sharpton's pocket or camp. So the rumor is that Sharpton would not only get a cut from the attorney for getting them the cases, which is supposed to be illegal, but that was the rumor. But the rumor also is that Sharpton would press the families to also give a cut or make a donation. Now, those were the rumors. That was before he had other sources of income through MSNBC, radio shows, TV personality. But the rumor is that a lot of there were cuts given by people in order to help facilitate media coverage on work on police brutality cases.
I don't. It sounds a little unsavory.
It's a grift. It could be a grift.
Dog. Oh man. Now I'm probably going to spend 30 minutes going back Googling Ben Crump's settlements and doing a loose calculation. I'm about to count up Ben Crump money and be upset because it's like, I'm sure my God. Yeah. Claude, have mercy. Kamal, do you have an Astoris for us, young man?
No, but I think we got a DJ who's about to come on.
DJ for the next 13 minutes?
Well, no. He's going to come on, and then you guys are going to finish out the show.
Yeah.
Because I got a dip. If you read the private chat, when I sent the real private chat.
You know, Kim never reads the private
chat. Ever.
Never.
Like, what's that? Never read it.
If I don't know what's that bad little connection thing y'all just put me down on?
Discord.
Yeah, I don't look at Discord, and she don't look at the private chat. we even on that.
That's correct.
Right.
That is correct. Ooh, it's okay. Ear Doctor, are we about to talk about music for the rest of it? Can we talk about house music?
You already know it. All right. Well, have a good one, Kamal. We'll catch you next week.
Kamal.
Deuces, everybody. Deuces.
See you, man. Have a good one. Ooh, Ear Doctor. All
right.
When I saw the Sundays is going to be house music, shorty.
That's right.
I'm very excited. I'm sorry.
And I got my people's Shy Professor. He's from Chicago.
Yes.
So we got a Chicago DJ and we got a Jersey DJ. So we taking.
I'm highly excited about that. Let me tell you, one of my first experiences in Chicago. Come on, Chicago 312. Y'all stand up. Me and my homegirl, neither one of us were from the Chi. We was like, we don't know where the fuck we going. We found the Funky Buddha Lounge. DJ Mark Full of Flavor was DJing, and Ear Doctor, it was a little hole in the wall. Slim, I have never partied so funly as an adult, and I was just blown away at the music selection. First of all, the DJs, I can't big up the DJ enough, but Ear Doctor, like, so you know, when you in certain cities and they drop certain records that you as an out of towner have no clue what it is, right? And dog, he dropped some house record. Everybody that was sitting down got up. Okay, everybody was sitting down, got up, and got on the dance floor. Me and my homegirl from Baltimore, we looking at each other like, what the fuck just happened?
What is this?
Yeah, but that Chicago house is special. That Baltimore house is special. What else is big for house music, Ear Doctor?
I mean, pretty much like you just said, those spots right there. I can be in the club and listen to house music for a good hour. But after that, I gotta hear something else. I mean,
what else?
After a while.
But see, I think there's a conversation to be had there, because so the Chicago house and Baltimore has house music, but even within the Baltimore is Baltimore house and Baltimore club, right? So Baltimore club music is different.
It's like Jersey club music. Yes, it goes. Yes, upbeat, real quick music. You'll see a lot. It's in a lot of the Italian type clubs, like Paulie, you know.
That's white people club music. I'm talking about black folk club music. Watch out for the big girl. Hey, watch out for the big girl. Hey, watch out for the big girl. Big girl. Huh? I'm sorry.
Since we talk about music, let me tell you about this dude right here real quick. Mano.
Oh,
you know what this dude said?
No.
He said that
I don't know what he's saying.
Mano is a rapper from Brooklyn. He says that when he's with white women, he likes to play having sex with white women. He likes to play the disobedient slave role.
That's it. Okay. Man, listen. Can we have a conversation? Can we have a slight chat? I don't understand. first of all, why did Mano tell us this? Who asked Mano for this information?
He was on Angela Lee lip service. So I mean, they talk about
on brand. That sounds very on brand.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, I mean, we gotta really realize these people are entertainers. This is entertainment. We gotta stop listening to these people. And even
no shit, because I can't tell you a single song Mano rap. And if you hadn't told me that Mano had said something quite silly, we wouldn't even be talking about Mano.
Facts. But even though talking about hip hop still, when I did Cool G Rap Cool G Rap and Rock M last Sunday, and I want people to come on out because it's really like a class. It's like a class where you can learn about lyricism, learn about different artists, learn about different genres and all that stuff. But even if you was to take Cool G Rap's lyrics and take him to court, I mean, he talks about Italian drug deals, and he's really like a storyteller. So the fact that people are getting taken to prison and bring this to court because of what they're saying in their songs, man, it's like it's taking away the creativity from these artists. But at the same time, these dudes is out here dry snitching on themselves, especially with this drill rap that's coming out of New York.
Well, so I think putting things in lyrics is one thing. Getting on the internet and actually providing evidence for the police, for a grand jury to review, I think it's something completely different. I mean, it has always been, maybe not always, but recent history. There's a lot of young rappers you never heard of who are actually in jail right now because they were convicted of crimes of which the prosecutors entered their rap lyrics in as evidence. And that should have never been the case. Like, I think if that was the sole evidence that convicted people, that shouldn't even be allowed in because, like you said, it is fiction, right? And I don't understand why rap lyrics are interpreted literally as opposed to the words of a novelist or of, a screenplay writer, or like, why are rappers' lyrics get taken seriously? You know what I'm saying? So, or not seriously, but taking as literal, as autobiographical to the extent that prosecutors say that this is an admission of guilt because he rapped about selling 4 keys of coke. And it's like, okay, but did he ever have 4 keys of coke or did he just rap about it? Because that is a very big distinction.
It's still this whole male bravado that you got to be so tough. You got to, you know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, I don't want to bring up the whole Will Smith thing, but it's like, look at Will. You look at him, he's not looked at as tough. So as soon as he's like, he's soft, whatever. I could just say whatever about him. What are you going to do?
Slap the shit out you, dog. That's what you mean. And we don't have to get into the Will Smith thing, but doctor, I said it loudly and often, and I'll say it again on my dog. I didn't have no problems with Will Smith walking up there and slapping the shit out of Chris Rock. I was very glad to see it. Happy to see it. And then all the speculation. Well, Will was just mad because Jada was messing with August. Nigga, I need y'all to get out these people's bedrooms. I know they opened the window and opened the door up for us to walk right in their bedrooms, but at the same time, please don't think that we knew that Jada was dealing with somebody else before Will knew. So there was a bunch of projection, I felt, and then a lot of judgment about lifestyles and these people as big old freaks and this is what they get and da-da-da-da-da.
I just wish more people would travel the Tribe Called Quest type path where you can have dope music and not try to be tough. You know what I'm saying? That's one group that don't try to be like, yo, I'll beat you up, blase blah, take you out. They give you good music and it's relatable to all different people. You know what I'm saying?
But some people are angry, ear doctor, and violent or have aspirations to be violent. So this is why they rap about certain things. Or even more practical, they understand that there's a formula to this shit and certain shit sells, my G. You know what I'm saying? So if you talk about, murder, death, kill, shoot them up, found them, fuck them, and flee, then that day you stand a better chance of getting your record spun by the DJs, right?
And I ain't gonna front. I want to hear some of that murder, kill stuff when I'm working out or something like that because it gets me amped up. Like I'm killing this. Whatever I'm doing, I'm killing it. You know what I mean?
Killing that workout.
So it's like warrior music for some, but you got to know how to use it. You know what I mean? And
I guess so.
Not right now. You got radio and stuff just playing all the like you said, the whole formula. This is what's gonna sell. And
And that is why radio is in the state that it's in now. Do you listen to the radio, Air Doctor? Do you have a radio preference in the city of Atlanta?
Actually, the radio station I used to be on is WRFG 89.3 when I was doing on-air personality for a couple of years. It gives you conversation and it gives you music, but at the same time, I still do listen to the top tier hip hop R&B stations because sometimes I need to keep up with what's new. You know what I'm saying? Because I do all these different types of style parties where I got to play this new stuff, and I don't be feeling it sometimes. But these beats just get you. The beats just get you, and you just fall into that. Like, I don't care what they saying. That beat got my head nodding, and that's a big thing in a lot of music nowadays.
I know, because payola is real. Payola is real. You know, I have big thoughts about the state of urban Black radio, and I think that for people my age who may have been avid radio listeners when they were younger and don't listen to the radio that much now, or listen to hip hop and R&B stations that much now, because the actual sounds coming out of the speakers are not pleasant to my eardrums. What I witnessed, Ear Doctor, in my days of working in radio is that the quality of the music, the quality of the programming started to hit a steep decline once the DJs were removed from programming decisions, right? So DJs were integral in, you know, breaking records. Ear Doctor, do DJs even break records no more? No. Record labels send the records that they want to be popular to radio stations, and the radio stations now playlist mix shows, right? You can only mix from this 15 song list, okay? Yeah. And so quality shit gets ignored, never heard, never even gets the day of light paid any attention to it. And the people who are most skilled at selecting good records and or hit records are the DJs, and that control has been removed from them totally now for, I'm going to guess, maybe better than 15 years. And the quality of the programming, the reason why radio sounds like shit right now is because you got a bunch of people who don't understand music, who don't have a concept of the history and the foundation of rap and R&B. You know what I'm saying? These people are out here to push an image. They're not out here to push good music. And it's obvious. And it's,
I mean, because it's like, really right now, they look at it as a way to get out of their situation. They don't look at it as really an art. They look at it as show business, the business part of it, the whole business.
But how does that differ from like Motown? You know what I mean? Like, tell me the difference between what you're saying and like the Motown experience, where they had all these teenagers coming out of the ghettos of Detroit trying to, you know, get to the next thing, right? So
I think a lot of these people in Motown, they would have been singing with or without a deal. And I think now a lot of these artists are like, all right, I want to get money. Let me just become a rapper. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's another way to get out instead of, you know, people that grew up in church and sang on a regular and just loved it and then wind up getting discovered. A lot of these people aren't getting discovered. They're going after, okay, I'm going to be a rapper and get out of here. I'm going to hit these certain melodies. I'm going to find a dope beat, put it out there, and get my money from it, capitalize off of it. And that's what they're doing. They're capitalizing off of hip hop.
I know. And there's not enough gatekeeping happening or a gatekeeping in the wrong direction, I should say. To me, it's a lot of this participation trophy shit. Like, oh, I want to be a rapper, so I'm going to try to rap, or I want to be a singer, so I'm going to try to sing. And, you know, before you actually had to have a skill at both of these things. And if you were not a skilled singer or a skilled rapper, you didn't succeed as a rapper or a singer. But I'm loving the way that, you know, young folks don't let their lack of talent dissuade them from careers in these fields. Like, dog, you don't have to sing or rap. Everybody gets a trophy. Come on. You can be a rapper. Do you want to be a rapper, little Johnny? Come on.
But then it comes down to, is it an art? It's an art, so you should be able to do whatever. But that's just like, you know, I could continue to paint the soup can, the Campbell's can, just like the other person, and I know it's gonna sell because it's known. Or I could come up with a whole. That's with movies and everything. They redo everything instead of being brave enough to put something new out, because it's all about the money, capitalization.
That's right. So it's important for cultural standard bearers like yourself, ear doctor, to push the mantle and let everybody know the quality music that is available out there that they will never hear on the radio, because, you know, radio's not interested in quality music. They just want what sells. And those things are oftentimes not in congregation with one another.
Well, Kim, it's time to get out of here. You know I'm always on time. What you got coming up on your show?
Fuck, is today Thursday? So my show is tomorrow. So my bruv, Rich L. Deals, I want to talk about this Frank James nigga, because I have a feeling that, you know, the mainstream media are going to try to make him a former member of the Black Panthers and all kinds of shit. And it's like, nope, we need to correct that narrative right away. And there's some local stories here that I want to get my folks updated on here in the DMV. And we are going to check in with our journalist from Palestine, Mohammed Al-Saif. He sent me some stuff because shit has been going down in Jerusalem with Palestinian children being arrested by the IDF and all kinds of insanity happening in Palestine. So we've got a little bit of this, a little bit of that tomorrow. Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Please go over to the channel and subscribe, everybody. Tuesdays and Fridays, usually at 5 p.m., but tomorrow we are on at 8 p.m. Special time for Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Friday night, 8 p.m. So please make a note of it.
All right, dope. And make sure y'all catch up on all the shows. Like, we got a show right now on Black Power Media with Jared. We got Warrior Class Saturday. We got Luke Mine. We got Sundays. We got a lot of dope stuff. Riot Star TV, everything. So just tune in, and we will catch y'all then. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, guys, follow Jackie Lukman. Mrs. Lukman is in Venezuela. Follow Jackie on Twitter to see her adventures in Venezuela. It's really heartwarming.
And we got a big announcement next week, because it is the 1-year anniversary of the Remix Morning Show on 420. So you know what we got to do.
Oh, yeah. Everybody bring your shroom, bring your flour. We turning up. Call out of work. Don't go to work on 420, baby. We getting high, Craig. Come on.
Word. That's what it is. Well, we catch y'all then. So peace.
See y'all.